Brown 45. Brown 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, NFL Australia head office, American Football Australia head office, ABC studios, Budgie Smugglers head office, worldwide, boys. We are growing every single day. Joining us in a very happy western wing of his household at Danny Webb, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Go Birds!
It's been a good few days for you. You've been up and about, I'm sure.
Oh, mate, it doesn't get better than this. Like, honestly, on cloud 9, but we'll get into it.
We will. And a slightly, little bit sadder eastern wing of his household at Charlie Pick.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? Are you all right?
Slightly little bit sadder. What do you say? I'm literally wearing the black Bills jersey because I'm in mourning. So the black killer Shakir. But yeah, today is a very rough day. But you know, how entertaining is sport? Let's talk about that.
That is sport, yeah, with a smile through your teeth. I'm just glad that you could join me on the loser side, mate. It was hard yakka last week trying to talk to you two up and about for your game. So
yeah, but at the same time, I genuinely lost something. So you know, it's different, but that's fine. I'm over here. That's fine. It's just it's different. It's just different.
It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
on the positive note, there was a potential chance that we weren't actually going to spend the Super Bowl together if the Bills had to go.
That is true. It's nice for you to paint this as a good, happy story. But yeah, I actually had a travel agent holding some flights for me. I wasn't going to fly to New Orleans. The plan was to fly to Houston because you can get there quicker. And then Houston's about a 5-hour drive from New Orleans. And the plan, because it's last minute, couldn't get a hotel room, was to hire a Winnebago and just drive and park it somewhere over in New Orleans. And so I had to ring the travel agent and say, I won't be needing that ticket. So is the Bills loss my fault? Maybe.
I'm actually blaming the travel agent that maybe if they're slipping one of these, just a business card, they can watch the show and they would have known that they lost and you wouldn't have had to cancel you. They just cancel it for you. So let's blame them. And Danny boy, you can't afford tickets, so you can't.
Nah, I was joking at work. I was like, do I set up a GoFundMe? Like, let's get Danny Boy to the Super Bowl. Obviously, probably need some help from NFL Australia to actually get a ticket. That one's a bit of a doozy. But maybe next year, though. Maybe next year, and if the NFL media tickets fall our way, all we can do is hope for that.
Well, yeah,
I think a live Any Given Sunday from where's next year? Where is it? Is it Vegas? Is it where is it?
No, back down in San Fran, I believe.
That'd be glorious.
Levi, it's nice newer stadium. So closer as well, easier flights.
Good flight to San Francisco. It's excellent.
Is it not direct, Melbourne to San Fran now?
Yep, it is. You go Melbourne to San Fran.
Glorious.
Just so
and being that close to Silicon Valley, everything's about 100% more expensive for everything.
I might drive from Houston just from there as well because it'll be somehow cheaper. So
I can't wait to have a $36 hot dog though. It's on the dream. It's on the bucket list.
All right, we've got some things to talk about before we talk about what's the opposite of commiseration?
Celebration
And commiseration of those two games. It's been a long couple of days for me as well, flying home. We've got some new head coaches. Brian Schottenheimer has been promoted at the Cowboys. That was a little bit of a surprise to me, Charlie, when that got announced.
It was a surprise to me. It's a 4-year deal, apparently. Hey, man, you get less for manslaughter. Am I right, guys? Is it that? I mean, who were we thinking was going to take that job? You need to be something of a masochist to want to work for Jerry and take over the Cowboys. But hopefully, can turn things around. I think the league is better when the Cowboys are at least competitive. See, no support there at all from Danny. But And I didn't manage to see the press conference, Schottenheimer's first press conference. Did he look comfortable or scared? That's the question.
Oh, I haven't seen it either. Danny, have you put your eyes across it?
Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. He looked comfortable and nervous at the same time, kind of like a duck on water, I guess. Like, the top half looking good, bottom half shitting themselves, which I think is fair enough. But he did double down on Dak. He doubled down on Dak, saying he believes Dak's the one, and he always will be the one to lead him to the Super Bowl. So at least Dak has that monster contract, head coach has that monster contract, and we can watch them both fail.
Having watched the 4 teams that made the conference championships and the quarterbacks that they have,
no turnovers,
but also just mobile quarterbacks, that can run, can make the change. Do you really think Dak is that kind of quarterback still going to lead you to a Super Bowl?
Well, it's all right. They've got an elite backfield with Ezekiel Elliott back there, so they'll be fine.
No substitute for experience in a running back room, from what I hear.
Give him all the money. Danny boy, I did see a thing coming up that both the QBs in the AFC or NFC, your side of the show, have been born, went to college, made a career, and made it to the NFC Championship, all between the Cowboys making their last one. So,
when was the Cowboys' last one? Was it like?
Oh, it's like 37 years, I reckon, this year.
Yeah, I was going to say something around like the 1980s mark, or even like really, yeah. Crazy. I don't know if an OC who was in the organisation getting promoted to the head coach is really going to be enough to change that.
Well, like Charlie said, it's just someone that can actually... He's been in the building. He knows what he's in for. So that's going to be interesting. The next one, and I actually love this. This is a great one, Danny. This pickup, Pete Carroll, the new signing for the Raiders. I love this.
This is the spark the Raiders finally need, isn't it? So let's get a real experienced, winning head coach in there. Pete Carroll's he's done wonders. We've seen what he's done. I think that is exactly what the Raiders need, and they really need to kickstart this rebuild. Get a good QB, go out and draft well, and then actually go back to competing. It's been too long. NFL's better when the Raiders are doing well. Everyone loves the Raiders. But it's been a long fucking time, hasn't it?
Yeah, Charlie, the only thing is they had to build in some specialised Zimmer frames for the 73, I think, year old that he is.
I was going to say, although, to be fair, he is a very spry and energetic 73-year-old. He is a timeless individual. And also, you imagine that didn't happen without Tom Brady having input into that decision. You imagine that conversations occurred. So it's... Pete Carroll is one of the great characters of the league, and very glad that he's got another head coaching spot. Can obviously set a culture, and he's had experience in winning football and playing tough football and building a scheme that is a brand and an identity, and that's been so missing from the Raiders for a really, really long time. If you couldn't answer the question, who are the Raiders, other than Max Crosby. And that's it. And other than that, the outfits are nice, and a lot of people wear their caps that have never seen a football game. So that's, it's a good opportunity for them to set a culture. And he's the kind of coach that could turn it around, but obviously a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but I think he's definitely the culture. You saw the kind of team that the Seahawks were through his era. They were definitely a defensive side of things. So the guys like Max Crosby, who everyone's calling for him to leave outside of the organisation, he's definitely going to buy in a lot more now. And yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing for the Raiders seeing Pete Carroll around there. Danny boy, last one, Tampa Bay's OC Liam Cohen as the Jags' new head coach. He did wonders for Baker Mayfield the last couple of years, giving him all the confidence in the world. So how's he going to go down in Jacksonville?
Speaking of press conferences, sorry, I'm already giggling just at the thought. Do you boys see this? Where he's like, Duval.
He put on a little bit of it was very fancy.
That's not how they do it. That's not how they do it down in Jacksonville. Come on, man. Oh, sprightly young buck, though, in comparison to Pete Carroll, isn't he, at 39 years old? I think, what he's done for Baker, exactly what you said, really helped turn Baker himself around and, got him actually back on the map and doing the things that he needs to do. Trevor Lawrence needs this, and the Jags need this. Anything is going to be improvement on Jags last season.
And it's not far for him to move from Tampa Bay to Jacksonville, Charlie.
He's already acclimatized, loves the humidity, knows where the good golf courses are. Everything you need to succeed as a coach in Florida.
He's good with alligators. He'll be fine.
Everything. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Trevor Lawrence, and it feels like when we've seen his best, it's been pretty incredible. But he needs a consistency and someone that knows how to develop and build the game around him. And like you say, Baker was an each-way bet, when he landed in Tampa Bay. And you have a look at his performance over the last season, you can see that building a scheme around the quarterback's strengths is definitely something that Liam Cohen can do. And, the league's just better when the Jags are competitive.
Yeah. And
actually, that sounds really trite, but sweet Lord, does the AFC South have to get competitive? Like it is,
it needs something.
It's just not good enough as a division. As an AFC native, it's just like there's not like the fact that the Texans just kind of tripped ass backwards into the playoffs this year. Like they didn't play a brand of football that really justified making a divisional round, but they had nothing to compete with there in the AFC South. So hopefully Jacksonville are back, and you'd hope that Indy can start getting it together as well, and just start a competition.
The whole South, NFC South sucks as well. So let's just try and pick up both sides. What do they say? All rise.
All boats rise? Is it?
Yeah,
is that
rising tide helps all boats. So let's just hope that helps both sides. All right, let's get into the game. Danny boy, you've already got a big cheesy grin on your face. We're going to start with your Eagles versus Commanders. And I said it, I picked it, that the 6.5 point line was not big enough. They were going to absolutely blow them out of the water, I think.
As soon as they dressed Rocky up in Commander's gear,
they were
going to lose. It was a guarantee.
4-0 before that with Commander, the Rocky being dressed up. So why would you even try and tempt fate with that?
Oh, God. I don't know what they were thinking there. Some people are saying it was a setup by Philly fans. If so, also love it. Let's give them
false flag attack by the Philly fans.
Oh, you got to give it to them. But
are they smart enough to do that? They've just in the parade, someone's just shot a gun. So I don't know
I'm just checking the data. Data says no, they're not.
They're not. They're not. Except for the Australian ones, Danny boy, you're all good.
So the Eagles, they got out to a commanding lead, didn't they? Really, they had no answer to Saquon. It was the turnover battle again. Proves the winner. So the Commanders turned it over 4 times. Eagles none. I think on every single one of those turnovers, we returned it for a touchdown as well. A lot of times it was short field, which is obviously a massive benefit. Definitely not going to complain about that. But Hurts and Barkley both rushed for 3 touchdowns each. Imagine what that would have been paying. Like I had a little flirt with Barkley, and I only had him for 2. But I had a look at 3. I was like, I've done 3 for the past 3 weeks, and it hasn't worked for me. So I'm going to learn. Silly me. He was paying $16. So then plus
your losses.
Plus the Hurts would have been playing through the roof. And then Hurts' knee, like when he first got out there, he looked a bit ginger. He had his knee brace on. I was slightly concerned. And then he just starts rushing again and going back to the same old him, which was great. The first play really set the tone for the game, didn't it? So it was for the Eagles anyway. So the Commanders went up, got a field goal. Eagles went back. At that point, I was a little bit nervous. One little shovel pass to Barkley from Hurts, 60-yard dash touchdown. I was like, oh, we came to play. We absolutely came to play. So 55 points was the most any team has scored in a conference championship as well since the merger, which is crazy. AJ Brown was back, got 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Still have to give a massive shout out for the Commanders for actually getting here. Like, you got a rookie QB, new head coach, new general manager. No one really expected him to make the playoffs, let alone get this far. So huge for them to be able to get there. And I was excited watching them all year round. I was even more excited to blow them out by 30 points.
It was a very good game, and you're right. It must have been an easy watch for you when they take 5 minutes, kick a field goal to start the game, and you have one pass or a shovel pass for 60-plus yards. Like, you must have just been sitting back from there going, how good is this?
But then the next drive by the Commanders, they turned the ball over, gave us a short field, and we scored another touchdown. So Barkley had 2 rushes and 2 touchdowns. It was for something like 64 yards, but his first one was 60. So it was just, it was such a great way to start. And I don't know if you saw it, but when they lined up to do the brotherly shove at the 1 yard line, and there was offside call after offside call. Luvu was jumping over the top and just trying to do anything possibly could to stop it. And it got to the point where the ref almost blew the game dead and was like, if you do it again, we're just got to give Philly the points. I've never heard or seen that happen. And I was all for
I went and checked. That is an official rule. It's to stop that just continuous, because it went from the 2 yard to the 1 yard to the half yard to the third. It was just beyond ridiculous by there. The ball was pretty much over the line when they were snapping it. You couldn't get much closer than that. So, yeah, it's an official rule. They can just give them the points.
One of my favorite things that I've seen, that a quote that's come out after all of this, was that Barkley went away and spoke to his family when he was with the Giants before he decided I'm going to leave. I'm going to go play for Philly. Then his youngest daughter, Jada, had one question for him, and it was, does this mean Dad will win now? Amazing that that she asked that. And then you saw him laying down the confetti, holding his daughter. It was picture perfect. It was amazing. And without Saquon, we wouldn't be here, wouldn't be chasing for this Super Bowl, wouldn't be facing the team we're about to face.
Charlie, it wouldn't be a podcast without Danny giving a little backhand to the Giants on the way through. But yeah,
well, it's just actually quite delightful that even Saquon's youngest daughter, who barely knows really what's going on in the game, knows that the Giants suck. It's just it's
wholesome. It's very wholesome. Did you get to see much of this game, or you still your stomach in knots before your game?
I saw a bit of it earlier. I saw the first half, and just that sense that this one, it was out of reach already for the Commanders. You can just tell that the Eagles weren't going to be stopped, and they weren't going to be they were never going to catch them. But once again, you couldn't help but thinking that the Commanders, as hard as this individual day was going to be, their overwhelming sense from the season is that they just absolutely surpassed anything that anyone could expect them to achieve. And this was actually a good, hard lesson about what the benchmark is. If you're going to actually go further, how good you have to be. The Eagles played, they played conference championship football. They played Super Bowl caliber football. And I thought it was a very complete performance by the Eagles, and it was good for the Commanders to see what that's like up close and learn that, well, you just can't make that many mistakes, and you can't turn the ball over that many times and expect to keep going in playoffs.
You're definitely right. If you had said to any Commanders fan person at the start of the year that you're going to be playing off in the NFC Championship game, are you happy with that? God, they'd be saying yes every single time. But Danny boy, I was at work. You were also at work, so I don't know how you actually went watching the game. Very split up, I'm sure. And one of the guys I was working with while we were watching the game, he said, I always hate when my teams blow out the opposition in the prelim final. We're speaking Australian terms, obviously. He said, because I get nervous about we've played our grand final the week too early. Is that something that worries you?
I honestly think they'll probably lift when they go to face the Chiefs, because Saquon Barkley sat for the essentially the final drive. Hurts went out there, I think had one snap, and then Pickett took over. The ability that they can actually sit and rest players towards the end of a game in a conference final doesn't happen. And now we've got that 2-week break. I think they're going to go out so hungry as well, because they were so close to this 2 years ago. And now we're back again, facing the same team. To me, it doesn't matter whether we blew out the Commanders or not. I was still nervous, up until halfway through the fourth quarter, to be honest with you, because you just never know. There was 10 minutes left. I remember the lad I was sitting next to, he's like, oh, it's done. I was like, oh, anything can happen. Don't say it's done yet. I don't want to hear that until the final siren goes. But as far as blowing out a team the week before, not bothering me. I reckon it's a different game.
It is. Nice, mate. It was definitely the best way for the AGS family to start the day. It didn't. I sent you a message beforehand, Charlie, saying we need win number 2 to make it the AGS Super Bowl. It didn't quite happen. It was a lot closer game. That line was a lot more appropriate. A controversial-ish type game as always with the refs involved. With Danny Boy, he's nodding away. How did you feel, mate? You've got open air. We know you've You've been building this up. I can almost see it sitting on the top of your chest, ready to go. How do you feel, mate? How do you feel?
I mean, it was so heartbreaking because, again, to come so close, and we all know what it's like to lose a close game, but we have been this close with this team so many times. And so much of the narrative was that maybe this is the Bills' year, maybe the Chiefs are vulnerable. But I never took that seriously. I thought the Chiefs were always going to be incredibly hard to beat because they're the Chiefs. They've got players who were drafted 2 years ago and all they've known is winning Super Bowls. That is their culture. They know how to do it, and they have a big bag of tricks and they bring them out at the right time. And that's what happened. I mean, what we did get to see, though, was another classic. It was a great game of football. It was tense. It was exciting. And the thing I love most about football is that it is literally a game of inches. And this game, more than I think any I saw this season, was a game of inches. There was a fourth down. You saw it, that the Bills went a QB sneak. It's going to be debated for a long time. I'm actually not complaining about the refs at all after this game. There were calls I disagreed with. There absolutely. But there was a fourth down. One referee says they made the first down. One says they didn't. And we go to a break and we come back and all of a sudden we've turned it over on downs. Like, that is as close as you can get. And it depends on which camera you're watching, whether or not that was a first down. But what you saw was a Chiefs team that outplayed us on the day. They did just play better than we did. They were more consistent, they were harder, they were tougher, and they got the job done, and the Bills didn't. Mahomes played an outstanding game, 18 of 26, 233 for one passing touchdown. He also ran in 2 touchdowns, and that is a point I will say from a coaching point of view. If I'm disappointed, there's 2 things I'm disappointed about in the coaching from McDermott. One is Mahomes doesn't run much all year, and in the playoffs, he always dusts off the run and he'll break you with it. And the fact that we seemed to not be ready for that was really disappointing. And the other thing that happened was the Buffalo Snowplow, the Josh Allen QB sneak, which is our equivalent of the brotherly shove.
Buffalo Snowplow.
Which Snowplow.
The Bills were, I think they were 20 of 21 for the whole season with that play, the most reliable play. But the first thing you do as a coach when you're scheming up defense is take away the most effective thing that your opposition has. And the Chiefs obviously prepared for it. They knew how to stop it. They'd obviously spent time practicing this. And so a play that succeeds 20 out of 21 times for the season was stopped 3 times in one game by the Chiefs, and that was on both on a 2-point conversion and fourth downs when we needed it and we couldn't get it. And that was, those 2 things alone were the difference. They were the inches that the Bills needed and they couldn't get. You have to say that Chris Jones he's the Mahomes of the defense. He's just a freak show, and what he can do consistently, it breaks your heart. And that also is a difference between these 2 sides. We don't have a Chris Jones on our defense. We don't have that kind of player that you can rely on in that game to make the plays that are needed. So I tip my cap to the Chiefs. They are as good as we expected them to be. I was really happy that we kept Kelsey pretty quiet, personally. I was just happy about that.
Fucking hell.
The punter's in us. Whew.
Jesus Christ. He killed me. My only one. My only fucking leg.
I want to point out 2 little things, and I haven't gone on too long. I am emotional about it, but I also think we didn't play our best football on the day. We are a team that is good enough to beat the Chiefs, but we weren't yesterday, and that's just the truth of it. 2 things I want to point out. That final play, there's a lot of focus on Kincaid dropping the catch. In these games, you got to try and catch them, but I think he did pretty well just to get his hands to it, changing direction. Freakish that Allen even got that throw to go where it was meant to go, given that he was clearly in the process of having most of his ribs broken at the time. But interesting thing about that play, interview with Osiris Torrance, one of our interior offensive linemen, who said that Spags had shown that look twice before in the game, and it was a fake blitz, and they did not blitz. So the Bills shifted their coverage to the right, and Spags changed it and they blitzed. And you have a look. Josh went to his happy place. He wheeled out to the right to get space, and he was just under the pump straight away. No time to do it. Couldn't hit the outlet to Shakir. There was no way he was going to do it. That's how good Spags is. Spags is an incredible defensive coach, and that was on display. And the last most heartbreaking stat that I have, in the modern, like in the Super Bowl era, in the playoffs, teams that score 4 touchdowns and have 0 interceptions are 21-2 in the playoffs. Those 2 are the Buffalo Bills, both times, both against the Chiefs. One was yesterday and one was the divisional 13 seconds game. And so when everyone talks about the heartbreak that it is for the Bills, it's not for the fact that we can't get back to the Super Bowl after getting there 4 times and losing it. It's the fact that in a lot of ways we do what you need to do to get to a Super Bowl. It just so happens that we're doing it in the era of living through a dynasty. And you look at it, they protected the ball. They forced a turnover from Mahomes turned the ball over, and he doesn't do that in playoffs. Like, they did a lot of things they had to. They won the turnover differential and still didn't win the game. And that is a pretty bitter pill to swallow.
I know you don't want to. I just see in your little, chalkboard. It's your whiteboard in the background. You've got all the divisional crossed off, everything like that, and you've just got next year. I can actually see your wife, I'm pretty sure, walking in the background. How's she been, mate? How's she been putting up with you over the last couple of days?
She has been okay. I made a point of being out of the house to watch the game with my son, but he didn't take it well. No. And he was wearing his Kincaid jersey, so that was the double whammy for him. His favourite player is Dalton Kincaid, so that was pretty harsh. But as I said, I've been here before, and I'm philosophical. If I thought we'd played well enough on the day to beat them, I would have felt worse. But I would say that I think Josh looked a bit unsettled for the first quarter. It gave us a slow start, and the key to us winning was always a good start. And secondly, James Cook was incredible running the ball. His touchdown was one of the best toughest running touchdowns you'll see. Why were we not just pounding it on the ground in the first quarter? That first drive was a 3-and-out. Why were we not running the ball down their throats? When we showed he was 13 for 85, 2 touchdowns, we should have just been that running team that we were to beat the Ravens, the running team that we were to beat the Broncos and to beat so many teams this year. And so that was, I think, one of the mistakes you make in the playoffs is you get away from your identity and what you do well. And I think we needed to run the ball more in the first half, and it would have been a very different story. I think we did really well to come back from, what was it, 21-10 down we were at one point. And I think the fact that we hit the lead, we did well, we could do it, we had that belief, but we didn't need to be in that position to start with.
I know you don't want to go there, mate, and you don't want to blame the refs, but apparently this is an entertainment show, so we're going to go there anyway. But that last catch, was not a catch in the end. He dropped it. A lot of punters have already shown and proven that there was a yellow flag already out, just waiting, just in case he did catch it, just to help bring the ball back against the Bills. You say the refs aren't in their pocket, but they seem to be very helpful when it goes to the Chiefs.
Well, I've been very dignified in saying the Chiefs tend to have fewer penalties against them, but I think that's because they're a very disciplined side. But I have got to say that the decision that actually bothered me the most was Cole Bishop, the rookie safety who came in to replace Taylor Rapp, contested catch with Xavier Worthy. And I do not believe that Worthy was in control of that ball when the ball hit the ground. And it's just that was like the ball hit the ground. It hit the ground. You saw it hit the damn ground.
I reckon it was in your mate's hands when it hit the ground as well. It wasn't in Xavier Worthy's hands.
And do you know what bothers me even more? I reckon if Cole Bishop hadn't tried to intercept it, Worthy would have dropped it and would have hit the ground. Like it was Bishop's arm that kept it in there when it hit the ground. That one was a killer because that was like 4 yards out from the end zone. That one That was killer. And that's the thing, like the number of times that it went to New York to check, and I was confident that it was going to go our way, and it didn't. That was some baffling shit. But look, I think if you are complaining that you lost because of the refs, you just didn't win. That's my overwhelming opinion. I played a lot of sport when I was young, and I never complained about a refereeing decision to the ref because they've never changed their mind just because you had a whinge about it.
It is a real kick in the plums when you see the ball bounce, though. That's
my understanding of a catch is it's not allowed to hit the fucking ground.
Danny boy, we'll give Charles a little bit of a break just to get those tears. I thought we nearly saw tears a couple of times. It's more than fair. When you're playing a team, Danny, that's been now, after this week, 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, you know you're up against it, and like you have to play your very best, but Mahomes just keeps on winning.
He does. And to be fair, I'm putting this game on the defense's shoulder. Like Mahomes did play his best game, I'd say, probably of the season. Easy. And there was a time to do it. Don't get me wrong. But that Chiefs defense and Spags call exactly what you're saying, Charlie. You heard Tony Romo the whole time during the thing. He's like, he's fake blitzing. He'll eventually do it. And then on the last play, I'm pretty sure Tony Romo was like, he's going to blitz. They're going to blitz. And they did. They did exactly because Spags just played it out perfectly, got in the offensive line's head, and just absolutely caught him off guard. And if it wasn't for the defense and Spags play calling, this could have been a very different game. Forget the refs. Forget what Mahomes did. The Bills had this on the final drive. Despite some very clear nerves from Josh Allen. Charlie, you said in the first quarter, I'd say the whole way through the game, he didn't look like himself. He didn't look like his MVP self. So to take all of that away, the Chiefs defense still got this game done.
And you said you don't have a Chris Jones. I thought Matt Milano was huge for you guys and bringing him back. He'd been out for most of the season, if I'm right.
Yeah, most of the season and then most of the previous season as well. And still carrying an injury on his arm, wearing some kind of cybernetic brace. But yeah, he played a fantastic game. I actually thought Bishop as well, the rookie coming in, I think had a really solid game. He was tackling really well. But I think there was a big moment very early on when Christian Benford, who was a top 5 cornerback all year, he went out with concussion, and Kyrie Elam,
your own teammate, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Damar Hamlin's helmet came through, and even with Hamlin's Guardian cap, it was enough of an impact because he'd been concussed. He was in protocol leading up to the game, so any knock to the head, he's got to get out of there, and he didn't look good. And that really meant that there was just, like you could tell, they targeted Kyrie Elam, who stepped in at corner, and it just gave them that ability to hit laterals, and all of a sudden there was more space for the receivers out wide, and I think that was a big difference as well. It gave Mahomes more options when he needed them.
And in our preview episode, we spoke so much about the Bills kind of giving a fair bit up to tight ends. Kelsey and Noah Gray were very quiet. The wide receivers were catching balls left, right, and center.
Yeah. Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown just come back.
Juju Smith-Schuster stepping in. Just everyone who had been quiet kind of got a piece of the action. And Xavier Worthy, he played a very good game. He made an impact in a way that our, rookie receiver, Keon Coleman, really didn't make much noise at all. But, there's plenty to go over. There's a whole preseason for me to relive this one and run it through my head.
Mate, you've got it on your whiteboard behind you, just like 29 other teams. There's always next year. Yeah. Soon to be 31 teams when we decide it in 2 weeks' time. But
the silver lining, the last silver lining is the conversation of Bills was about the Bills at the start of the year was this was a rebuild. We had $60 million in dead cap. We lost all our receivers. We had one remaining receiver who'd actually caught a catch from Josh Allen. I think we all knew that it wasn't a rebuilding year for us, and no one felt that when we were in the conference championship. But, I do think next year is already looking promising and for where we're at. But the fucking Chiefs will be going for 4 in a row.
Whoa!
Oh, hey, I just said that to shit you. Really, I said that just to be hurtful.
Just on the
You
Packers,
know,
mate. We're
You
the
know what?
youngest.
Actually, Danny, I do want to say, and we're going to do a preview of next week. I do think that the Eagles have a very good chance of winning, and I think they can run the hell out of Kansas City. And I don't think that over 60 minutes, Kansas City can stop your run. I really don't think they can.
You're right. That is for next week. Danny will be primed for the whole week waiting for it, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. We'll save that for next week because I always get too excited and also don't want to jinx anything. But I am going to bring up something that I did predict last episode. I did call that it was going to be a rematch. Both of you to pick different teams for this final Super Bowl matchup. So a little AGS tick for myself. Thank you very much.
Congrats. It's been a real good week for you.
I'm so glad you've got something else to feel good
Yeah,
about,
I
not
know.
just being in the Super Bowl.
Let's finish off on that one, Charles. Let's say fuck Patrick Mahomes and fuck Danny Webb pretty much. You can go out and enjoy your week, all gloating and stuff like that. But nah, huge weekend.
Yeah, I can get fired up about the Essendon preseason. This is the year. Oh, God.
Oh, man. You poor bastard.
Oh, dude.
At least the Bills won something. That's
right.
Yeah.
No, they're good. And it's funny, I guested on another podcast this morning to have a sad chat with them as well. And I said, and I meant it when I said it, if I had the choice to have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback for the Bills, I would take Josh Allen. And I just, I think there's something to be said for the organization that Mahomes has around him with Andy Reid and Spags. They're like unbelievably good. But every game I've watched Josh Allen play this year has been exciting, and he just puts in a way that is spectacular. My image from the season is not Dalton Kincaid dropping a pass. My image from the season that stays in my head is Josh Allen 2 feet above the ground, horizontal, in the snow, holding the ball out, going for the pylon against the 49ers. The only play that could compete with Saquon Barkley for Player of the Year. So, we had some good times. We got some memories.
There's always next year.
2 pieces away, which is always 2 pieces away.
Always 2 pieces away.
All right, boys, before we start crying into our beers, we'll wrap this up. And you're right, we will speak next week. Huge couple of weeks leading up into the Super Bowl. But congratulations, Danny, and commiserations, Charlie. Come join the rest of us that pretty much suck the rest of the year.
Thank you, T-Mac. Appreciate it. Lovely.
Final word, Danny?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
No.